we'd all take more risks. If we could control time. Rewind time. Freeze time. Controlling time is the ultimate power. Use it wisely. Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time.
You promised me my choice of the Maharaja's treasures. That dagger.
Ooh, is it a bit racist? Maybe?
Trust not a man who has betrayed his master, nor take him into your own service, lest he betray you too.
It's 2026 as I record this, and the definition of racism has become so tossed about and individualised that anything and everything is racist. But back in 2003, if you were setting something in a location vaguely in the Middle East, for those who don't know, Persia is the olden times name for Iran, then it was perfectly okay to just copy Aladdin and be done with it.
A young prince, dearer to his father than all the wealth of India.
I'm John. I'm Edward. And together we are John and Edward.
It's alright guys, Disney said it was okay, don't worry about it. Regardless, The Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time was highly anticipated as a revival of a classic IP from way back in the 1980s. But even more than that, it was a much needed shot in the arm for an ailing genre. Where was the platformer in 2003, like the pure platformer? The absolute dominant genre of game in the 8 and 16-bit eras. It had some ups and downs in the years since the move to 3D. Obviously, there were a spurt of early releases that tried to continue the momentum onto the PlayStation and the N64. Spyro and Crash Bandicoot had their own unique take on what these games should play like going forward, while Banjo and Conker, if anything, had already moved into the revisionist phase and started treating them like old relics to be enjoyed ironically.
What'd you do that for? Dumb shit.
Yeah, dumb shit. Yeah.
Ratchet and Clank had mashed together platforming and shooting as recently as 2002, but they really leaned more heavily on the shooting side. And obviously Mario and Sonic were doing their own thing, but they've always been somewhat isolated from the rest of the gaming world. What had seemed entirely missing were the more serious, mature, puzzle platforming experiences that didn't use cartoon mascots, things like Flashback, Out of This World, and, importantly, Prince of Persia. The most prominent example of this in recent years had been the Tomb Raider series, which did a decent job of translating those mechanics into a 3D space, but as we've mentioned, has seemingly run out of steam to a degree by 2003. So along came Ubisoft, back when that word wasn't a punchline, with a genuinely innovative and refreshing update of a classic. You have to get a little way into the game before you get to the good stuff. The opening plays out like a generic and slightly dull hack and slash. Jumping across gaps and traversing the outside of buildings is introduced, and it's so far so Tomb Raider. But then we get to running up and along walls, leaping from pillar to pillar, using your sword to drop huge distances through fabric, and all of it presented from these awesome looking cinematic camera angles to make sure that everything you do looks cool as shit. Every time you enter a new room and face a new platforming challenge, you get the camera zooming around, showing you every possible angle so you can sketch out an approach. And it's always exciting to have a go because you know it's going to look so flowing and impressive when you get it right. What makes it stand out from the Tomb Raider series is how smooth and intuitive the controls are. Now we can assume everybody has the analog sticks on their controller. We can dispense with the tank controls and just point the stick where we want the prince to go. There's no more standing still, sidestepping slowly left or right, moving back, shuffling forward, then having a go at a jump. Here you just point in a direction, start running, jumping, grabbing and flipping with just a few button presses. It feels like a proper evolution of the concept, and for me it makes the whole thing so much more fun. The other way in which Lara Croft is outdone here is in the titular Sands of Time themselves. Yeah, there's a story reason they exist, obviously, but that's neither here nor there. They're purely a gameplay mechanic that removes the frustration of the escalating difficulty through the adventure. If you're in the middle of a tricky traversal and you end up falling to your death, instead of having to wait for a reload and go back to a checkpoint, you can use the Sands of Time to literally rewind time to the precise point you lost control and try again. The satisfaction of watching everything move in reverse is difficult to describe now. It was such an innovation at the time, and it made the game so much more accessible. You're a lot more likely to keep trying and get better rather than get annoyed and give up with this mechanic at your disposal. Obviously these time reversal tricks are a limited resource that you refill like your health, so you can't just keep cheesing it to get through the game. But they go even further with them in the late game and start using them in the platform mechanics. At times you're required to use the sands, for example to freeze time so you can make water solid, so you can grab and walk on it, or to rewind. Hi guys, me here. I'm just fading this guy down because frankly he hasn't got a fucking clue. What happened here is I got my memories confused because years after I played this, I played the sort of remake, The Forgotten Sands, and it had a bunch of these cool mechanics about freezing time and walking on water and that, right? And I just totally superimposed those memories. Can't do that here, in fact. But it is still a really cool platforming game. It still belongs here. Bottom line is, I've let myself down, I've let my family down, and most importantly, I've let video games down, so apologies.
You suck!
It's not all exhilarating platforming though, as there is quite a lot of combat in this game. Like, a lot. Too much, I would argue. And I think you would too, if you remember playing this one. In fairness to it, the combat system was also quite fresh and new for the time. It plays a lot like an early prototype of the Batman Arkham games, with blocks and counters opening up enemies to attacks, and with each requiring a knockout blow to make sure they stay down permanently. The problem with it is that it's relentless, and as the game wears on, the sheer number of sand zombies they throw at you. I know, sand zombies, it doesn't sound great. It does sound like something you'd overhear at a certain type of rally, but that's literally what they are. They're zombies powered by the sands of time. And it's a good job, because if they were all just dudes, you would have committed an insane number of actual murders by the end of this. Yeah, so the sheer number of enemies makes each encounter a lengthy exercise in repetition as you jump over their heads, slice them from behind, and hope you can land the killing blow before one of the other dozen guys surrounding you knocks you out of your animation. It's frequently a bit of a mood killer, and at times it threatens to bring down the whole house of cards. But inevitably, you get back to the jumping around, and the game charms you again. And you forgive it because you get to sail through the air like an acrobat, feeling as if you're actually quite good at games for a change. This is a proper classic and actually holds up today, so give it a go.
I'll start the story from here next time.